Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Tuesday, August 13th, and markets in the morning. And I'm going to start off with the Nasdaq E-mini futures. And still just kind of a, boring week so far. Nothing too exciting happening. And what I can really point out right now is this is on the daily chart for the Nasdaq. And it is approaching some resistance with the 100-day moving average. So it is above that 18,534 level. That's a good thing. It did hold the 200-day very nicely. But now you can see price is approaching resistance for the Nasdaq E-mini futures. So what this really means is it's probably just going to maybe find a temporary top maybe here or a little bit above, possibly around 19.1 or so, just continue a little higher. And then after that, maybe try to find a new higher low somewhere before it continues higher. So it's just going to be a process of continuous battling this resistance above. And then just going to the log scale chart, it's pretty obvious that that resistance is still there around the 19,000, right? With that baseline and conversion line, it's essentially running up against it, right? So I can really see it just battling that and then possibly trying to just find a higher low somewhere, which I just mentioned on the daily chart somewhere. And I think current support could be around that 18,500. So just kind of stuck in a really tight range, really. So just got to be patient with that. And let's go take a look at the S&P futures here. They look a little bit better, right? This price here is already on the daily chart back in the cloud. And it's on its way up to the 5420 level for the S&P 500 E-mini futures. So this has a possibility to actually go in continuing a little bit higher up, maybe even to the 54 or 5500 level where this 50-day moving average sits. So it looks a little bit better than the Nasdaq just because it's already above this kind of resistance here, and it looks like it's already in the cloud, so it has some potential to go a little bit further. And if we put on the weekly chart here, it's also holding that baseline very well as a support, which means it could even break back above this conversion line at 5420 sometime in the near future, just simply because it's kind of a flat line now. It's not really sloping down anymore, so it could just easily break free. And I think that could be a possibility. So just something to watch out for. So it looks a little bit stronger than the Nasdaq futures. And next, let's check out IWM here. And IWM is looking like on the daily chart right here. The support is currently kind of around, it was around the 100, but it looks like it's going above it, right? So yesterday it closed below the 100 and today it's opening above it. So it looks like that still could be a support range. But if it doesn't hold, then possibly back to the bottom of the cloud around 202. So right now I like the pre-market, but you have to understand that when you zoom in, you can see that the 50, good morning, Cecilia. Good morning, Frankie. And yeah, you have to see that it's just essentially going up to resistance right now at 208. So that's going to be the range, really, 204 to 208. That's a really tight range for the IWM. And when we go to the IWM here on the weekly chart, you can see that even more resistance up here at the 210 level and then up here at the 212 level. So on the daily chart, it's battling that resistance pretty soon. And then on the weekly chart, it's also battling that resistance pretty soon. So it's just going to be more patience. But at least on the weekly chart, this 200 week has held nicely as support. So I have a question about SMCI. So let's go check that out. So SMCI on the daily chart, back at 567. So this is a good sign, right? I wanted to see levels close at that 550 level. And essentially, it's working its way back up now to the resistance of 601. So that is the first positive development for SMCI. But the thing is, this conversion line is still resistance, right? It's massive resistance because look at ever since it lost it up here in the 900s, it has not really even touched it yet, except for maybe right here. And now possibly that's going to be another big resistance level. So I can see price running back up to the 600s, which is a good thing, right? But I don't know if it can break it immediately. And also on top of that, then there's the 200 at 667. So the downtrend is still intact on the shorter time frame. But again, when you go to the weekly chart here on the higher time frame, it is clear that this market structure for SMCI is still really bullish because it went up and shot very high, and it's just trying to find a higher low here. But these are the levels that really are important here, right? This blue level, I want to see candles continuously close above it for the week. And if that happens, then I don't think this scenario that I mentioned will play out. But if candles for the week continue to close below that blue angle, I do see this level getting hit. So this is kind of like a make or break week. I want to see price continue like this to close back above it, and then that'll be its saving grace. But when you look closer, you can see exactly that 50-week moving average does line up with the daily chart at $600, right? That is going to be resistance right there as well. And you can see, I've mentioned this before, like look how important that 50-day was the whole time. It's been support from the whole time, right? Or sorry, the 50-week. And this is now resistance. So this is important to know, right? It's now on the bottom side of the cloud. It's now under the 50. So it's going to be kind of weak. And I think any chance of getting back to 600, it's probably not going to break through on its first try, which really means that it's going to be in a range then. If it gets up to 600, then 550 will be the support. That'll be some resistance, 550 support. And it could just like do something like that for a while until it's ready to go. So the most important thing, though, I want to see weekly candles, like I said, close above 550 because that will eliminate the scenario to going down here. So just got to watch that 550 level, in my opinion, to see what really happens. And NVIDIA. Let's go daily chart first since it's a new day. All right, where is it opening? Well, it's opening, or it's gonna maybe open around 113 pre-market, which is right at a resistance level, right? You can see the baseline there is at 113.42. Pre-market's at 113.10. But a good development nonetheless, because that is back in the cloud. And being back in the cloud is a bullish thing because it's no longer has this resistance of the bottom of the cloud. So that means it could flip that bottom of the cloud to support. So that means 109.60 could be a good support zone after that. And that's your first resistance level. Then the next one's going to be 120 up here. And if it can break that 113. So that is the range right now. And just checking out the weekly chart for NVIDIA here, it's back above my 45-degree angle, which I love, right? I love that a lot. Let me just take off all of these so you can see the symmetry here. You can see how important everything has been in the past, like starting with that orange angle, it was a resistance, broke above that orange angle was a resistance, broke above. See all these levels are broke above, and it held the bottom arc as support perfectly, right? Just using that market symmetry without any other indicators, it told us that it was probably going to hold that level when it got down to the 93s, which was a good opportunity. And now it's back above the arc again. You can see it broke out, successful back test. Now it's back above. So once it gets above those daily resistance levels, which could take some time, then I can finally see it pushing its way back up to 143. So that's what I really want to see with this 109 level, 110 level. I really want to see a hold now. And I think that could hold. And I think that's a good support zone for NVIDIA now, around 109, 110. Good morning, everybody. So let's take a look. Tesla pre-market. So I have this weekly chart that I always keep in my back pocket now. And this is essentially very important zone that I've been talking about for over a week now, really, the 198.43. And the more candles that close above it, then the happier I will be, because that means it'll continue higher to the 220 levels again. So again, you can see that 198 level was a support, was a resistance, was a resistance. Now it's trying to be support again for Tesla. So I think this is a good setup to go higher as long as more and more candles keep closing above. And if they do, then this scenario of going lower is eliminated, in my opinion. So I think this is a good setup. And when I put on the other indicators here, you can see that essentially lots of resistance. So I can still see price push up into the zone from the 205 up to the 210 zone. I can see it going up there, but it might not break through the first time. So it might just be really in a tight range for a few more days, for maybe even a few more weeks, right? Could be just in a tight range before it's ready to break higher. But I do like how this is finding a higher low from here, from here. It's really good. The cloud in the future is green, right? So lots of bullish developments there for Tesla, as long as this 198 level holds. And currently pre-market's at 198.82. So that's a good setup right there. Good morning, SJ Kwan. And let's see. Somebody requested MRNA. Okay, so that had a bearish week a few weeks ago, closed down 30%. And you can see when candles just break through all support and they close below support, that means they have flipped to resistance. So that's exactly what Moderna is saying. It's saying that anytime it goes back up to the cloud 95 or 105, that's going to be resistance now. And it's going to probably roll over and maybe continue to retest these lows. And if they don't hold, it's going to retest a new low, which could be down in this level right here into the high 60s. Or so this is something you got to watch out for, because it just broke through all support. And this is why it's really important to pay attention to bullish engulfing candles and bearish engulfing candles. In this case, the bullish engulfing candle, it was just a fake out, right? Because immediately the next week it closed back below. So, but this one looks like it could be real, because the next week after this bearish engulfing, it didn't do anything. So this is the difference between the two, right? If you saw on this week that it just closed back above, then that would just been a fake out. But this is not a fake out, and this could be real. So every time it comes back up, it's going to flip it to resistance and probably be under pressure for the weeks, maybe even the months to come. So that's where I see Moderna right now. Okay. Let's see here. Anybody? Let's check out the SMH. Just want to see where that's at pre-market. Okay, yeah, SMH is up at 230. Lots of resistance up here. 240s, 242 or so. But even if you don't use that, the other indicators, when you take everything off, the market symmetry told the story the whole time, really, right? That's the blue level I got to, right? It just hit it. And when it hits levels, like you see here, it hit the orange level. It was resistance the first time. hit the blue level, it was resistance the first time. So it was, according to Gann, it was really obvious to take profits up there for the SMH because price just wanted to go back and retest levels. And where did it retest? It retested the 45-degree angle perfectly. And now it's working its way back up to the 240s, I think, because support has held. And I think slowly but surely it'll get back up to the levels, and it'll probably battle that arc, maybe as some resistance, and then finally get back up to that level. But all it did was break out with the successful back test there, and it looks good on the high time frame. Lots of higher highs and lots of higher lows. This is still a higher low from here. Really good for the SMH. Let's see, African Amazon, JMIA, JMIA. So let's take a look here. Yeah, it's kind of at support right there with just the moving averages alone. It got rejected really by the 200 week moving average, then just found support directly at the 100. So it looks like it is battling in a tight range between the 50 and the 100. And let's see what direction it decides to go. And it looks like the direction could be up, simply because there's even more support down below right here in the $3, $4 range. And it's really approaching the cloud. So I think that'll help with the 100 and the cloud. I think that'll be a positive development to possibly come back and reclaim some of those levels. And just on the daily chart here, it can go a little bit higher, but you got to notice that this bearish engulfing went below a level, right? That means this 200-day is now resistance. That means if it comes up to 558 or 560 or just wick above, that could be some resistance now too. So just got to pay attention. And as essentially, it's in a range, a really tight range. So the support is 447. And the resistance here is 558, right? So that is your range, and nothing really exciting is going to happen either way until this one breaks as resistance, or on the weekly chart, if that 100 breaks as support, then it could go much lower, right, down into the twos. So something to pay attention to with this JMIA. But right now, it's kind of like in a nothing range just to see what happens, because it's closer to resistance right here than it is support. Like, yes, it is pre-market above the 50 right there, but that doesn't mean it's going to close the week above it. So just got to see how this week closes to really determine what's going on. Crown Strike. I think you mean Crowd Strike, maybe. CRWD. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at here. Yeah, so it's back in the cloud. I do like that. I like the holding of the 100, 200. And essentially what looks really good is there's still lots of room to go up to the, go up to the arc right there. And that sits around 252. And that could be some resistance, but I think ultimately the plan now, since support held, could be to just go back up to the top of the cloud into the 260s, possibly even the 275s. And I think that will be resistance for some time, and then possibly find a new higher low somewhere, and maybe even retest that arc as support and then come up. But I think that was the bottom. It looks really good with that bullish engulfing back in the cloud. And I think the cloud can hold as a support now. But one thing you got to notice or pay attention to is if the cloud breaks again, then a possibility of going back to touch that angle becomes a possibility in the 180. So just to take off these so you can see the symmetry of everything. Right. The top was that orange level, and this angle is very important. You can see it was a resistance, support. So if it can't really get back up to these levels, or if it loses the 100 or 200 week, then the possibility of drifting back down to this angle becomes possible. Okay, let's see. The next one is SVIX. Yeah, short the VIX futures. Let's see. I mean, these things are interesting. Yeah, it's at resistance. Don't think it's going to go break through that. It's getting rejected by the cloud and the 100. So it kind of looks like it wants to roll over and go a little bit lower, a little bit. And yeah, I mean, that's all really the analysis you need there, because anytime a chart like this opens way here and then goes back to resistance, it usually doesn't break through immediately. So that means there could be maybe some more volatility, I guess, right? Since it's at resistance. But the week's not over yet, right? This weekly candle could close back in the cloud. We don't know, right? So there's still, 3 days, 4 days left in the week. And so just got to wait to see where this week closes, really, to see if it breaks back above or not, right? Oh, Alex, the ultimate ADS warrior. Yes, I'll get to your ADS. K, I already did SMCI in the very beginning. You can check out that analysis earlier. Let's see, GME. Let's take a look at GME before we look at ADS. So I'm going to take this off for you guys. And the chart that I've been showing the whole time, it lost that support of that angle. And this angle was very important before. Now it's not. So the possibility of coming back up, getting rejected is pretty great now. And the possibility of even retesting that arc around the 16s becomes possible. But now, if you add the confluence of these indicators here, you can see clearly that, support is before that blue arc, and support could be right there around the 1966 level, and the conversion line up here at 24.26. So that is going to be resistance, which kind of coincides with the angle above. So it's really in a tight range, but it's good to see that this cloud and the 100 held a support. So I think the 19 or the 20s could be a good support level for a continuation higher up into the 24, 26 level. Okay, let's look at ADS. Okay, ADS. So it's back above that support where I have the arrow. That's the 45-degree angle. You can see that there it was support, and it did go below, and now it reclaimed that support. So that is good for ADS. But it looks like it is touching resistance really right now, and that conversion line is at 1081. And then there's more resistance up here with the 11.7, 11.6 zone right there with the 150 moving averages. So it's above support again. So I do like that. And this is like an evening star candle pattern, which is also really good for ADS. And I think the possibility to break this right now is not so great. So it could hit there, come back down and consolidate a little bit, and then finally break through later on. But it's a good thing that support is back, but it's not so good yet because there's still resistance above. And let's see, ASPN. ASPN. Okay, so let's take this off for a clean look first. This look right here is very symmetrical, and one thing that just stands out completely is this orange level, and it was a resistance in 2021. It was a support in 2022, and it tried to break free again, but now it can't. And it even lost this important angle here, the 45 right here. Lost it again. And it even lost the arc here, both arcs. And you can see here, it was important here, right? So just using this alone, I don't like it, right? I don't like it because it looks like even if price does come back up to the 25, 26 level, I see it getting rejected to finally roll over and retest this blue angle below into the 14s again. That's what I kind of see. I see this angle as super important. And after it broke out in February of 2024, it never back tested it yet. So I can see that happening. And when I put on everything else for ASPN, even more confirmation of some resistance with the conversion line baseline on the way up to this. So it might not even get up to these levels, to the 25, 26. It might get rejected around the 23, 24 level first. But one thing that I do see before it going back to that blue level, I see this 200-week moving average holding as a support now, right? It was resistance, now support. So there is a possibility, right? There is a possibility this could all just be a bunch of noise and it can break free again. But the way everything looks from market symmetry, it looks like things kind of want to test levels above again and then roll over is what I'm really looking at. Let's see. Anyone do ASPN? Yes. Last picks, APP and AFRM. Yeah, I see ASPN, but it is above your comment because you said last picks APP and AFRM, and above it, someone was asking about ASPN, the GA mom, so that's why I did that. But yeah, APP. Okay, APP, yeah, it's breaking above levels again. It's looking 100% bullish on the weekly chart again. With the pre-market, really, right? So it closed right there at 74.76, but it looks like it wants to open above the conversion line. So if it does that, that could be a good sign of a continuation higher. So I kind of like that, and it looks like anytime it gets back to maybe the $73 zone or so, it could be an opportunity because this baseline has been holding that support nicely. So that is looking like a good chart. And AFRM, affirm. And affirm is, yeah, it's looking like it found support. And it's looking like resistance of that angle is right there around 25.66. And up here is going to be maybe some more resistance around 28.28, and then even more around the 30s. So support is found, which is a good thing. And it's its first time since it broke out and then it back tested, the first successful back test right there. So that is a good sign that support held, and it has the possibility to go to the 28s and the 30s now, is what it looks like to me. And yeah, the market's going to open really soon now, so it's going to be just a matter of seconds. And let's go take a look. Somebody was asking Palantir. So Palantir, yeah, it just opened, right? It's at 29.68. And there's that angle I've been showing, right? And the 618 fib right there. It's looking like resistance, guys. Like I mentioned yesterday that I think it's going to just wick above some angles here and then just basically start to come back down and retest levels. So I don't think it's going to break through this angle. I don't think it's going to break through this Fibonacci immediately. And I did expect that wick. I mentioned it yesterday on the morning show. And yeah, I just think that if we go to the daily chart, maybe that'll tell us a better support level. Not really, right? Maybe even the 4-hour chart. Yeah, I still think that is a pretty good place for a support now for Palantir, possibly the $28 zone, because it looks like any kind of chance it wants to go up, it might get rejected by that $30 level again and then continue lower. So whatever positive price action you see right now, I can really see it just getting faded, right? It can go up and then get faded to go all the way down to the $28, $27 level for Palantir. Oh, Alex, thanks. You are literally the best. Oh, look at this comment. So nice. So sweet. The best analyst for stocks and crypto on Twitter. A joy to be your Patreon subscriber. Oh, you're so welcome. Okay. Let's see. Anything else here? Don't touch UVXY. High risk. Yeah, that is high risk. And yeah, GA-MOM, it is possible to go up, right? Like I said, for ASPN. I think it could even go up to $26. But if that ASPN does get up to that level, then I think it could roll over. So, Genvest, you're swing trading Amazon. What is the good entry and exit point this week for Amazon? Let's take a look. So, daily chart, exit could be up here around the 200-day, maybe 170, maybe even 171 or so. But it looked like it did find a bottom, but it's running into resistance now on the daily chart. So that could be a good exit. The entry would have been way down here, right? But on a weekly basis, you can see that probably a new entry would be around 164 because it's back above the 50-week moving average. So coming back down to the 164 zone would be a good entry right there. And yeah, no problem, Zara, for the Palantir chart. Let's see, SMCI 18 ARKK is up today. How's Tesla doing? Yeah, it's hanging on around that 198 level still. Nothing exciting. How's the miners doing? They're hanging in there too. Just around flat. All of them are around flat. Nothing exciting for the miners at all. Let's see. MicroStrategy still looks fine. Yeah, let's take a look at MicroStrategy real quick. Yeah, it looks like it's just going to go sideways, probably with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin also looks like it wants to go sideways. And yeah, the resistance is essentially 143, and the support is going to be all the way down here in the 100 or the high 90s, right? Not too much, but on the daily chart, there's support before that. There's 107 as support down here. So it's possibility to see this kind of volatility because you can see this massive resistance now, and it still cannot get back above the daily conversion line there. So that is still resistance. And until that happens, I can't see an uptrend continue, really. I can see it possibly getting back up to the 138 level, but it could just start to roll over. And right now, this is the only support I really see is around that 108 level. But on the 4-hour chart, there is a 123 level of the baseline down there first, right? So this is the possible steps, right? Get to that 123, hope it holds. If it doesn't, could go down to 108. If that doesn't hold, it could go lower, but one step at a time. And so far, this 123 is going to be support on the 4-hour chart for MSTR. All right. One last look at everything. QQQ, look at that. Look at that development for QQQ. It broke above the 50 on the 4-hour chart. That is a good sign, right? And it's trying to break the top of the cloud too. So this is actually good for stocks, a lot of stocks, really. Good for the Nasdaq. And even on the, let's go to the daily chart here. Yeah, it's even battling the 100-day moving average there at 156.38. So this could be interesting, but again, even if it breaks above there's going to be more resistance. But I want to see it really get back inside the cloud, get back up to that 463 level. But yeah, these are important levels for the Nasdaq right now, is what I'm seeing. So overall, still resistance above for everything, right? Even IWM, SMH, everything, there's resistance above. And those are the levels for this morning. So hope you guys have a great rest of